Hero Club presents Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. Welcome to Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu, episode 26. I'm your host, Wheelchair21, and joining me, as always, is the Janitor Joker.
2 more days, Wheels. 2 more days.
I know, we are literally recording on freaking 9/11, our opening segment, because as everyone knows, we had to shoot multiple segments in one night due to the fact that timelines ran kind of crazy. So later in this episode, yes, we will be picking up where we left off. This time starting on the Heisei Era, featuring the VisibleNinja, as well as yours truly, Wheelchair21, and this guy, Janitor Joker, because, you know what, there's a lot of timelines, and we gotta cover it, you know, because it gets a little crazy after this.
I give the play-by-play of Heisei Era.
Oh, yeah.
Cracking the code, baby.
Cracking that code. We gotta break that code, man, because Ghidorah, you fucked everything up, bruh. You fucked everything up. Well, I don't think it's really Ghidorah's fault. It's really whoever distributed it and didn't do the subs or the dubs right, really. That kind of confused everybody for almost 20 years. But nevertheless, we have one article of news, and then we're going to talk about the Kamen Rider Build premiere, and then we're going to go, like I said, right into timelines. That's our lit list for this week, and Mucha is going to be talking to us about some crazy Tokusatsu-related anime news that is not Gridman-related, unfortunately, because baby dun dun, baby dun dun. We have to make those references as much as we can, because Gridman.
Yeah, or else we'll be taken down from YouTube permanently.
Exactly, because, you know, Kilo Khan will try to destroy us.
With Tim Curry's powers combined. So anyway, the news is that there's a new Garo anime coming out called Garo Vanishing Line. It's being done by the same people who have done the other Garo anime, and this is the third installment. The first one being just called Garo the Animation, and the second one being called Garo Crimson Moon. The studio doing it is Mappa. They're known for doing Yuri on Ice. And Jam Project has returned to do the opening called EMG. And watching the trailer, as I kind of hinted at a lot of times during our podcast, I'm not the hugest Garo fan, so I can't really make any real opinion about how I feel about this anime, because I'm probably not going to watch it. 1, because it's anime, and 2, because it's Garo. But Wheels, how do you feel about this news?
Alright, as you and me were talking when we were watching the trailers, we were kind of like mesmerized by the fact that its animation style is kind of like Durarara. It was a mix of like if Durarara had sex with Persona, had sex with like that Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward game. We were like, damn, like this kind of feels like very similar to those. It also had a weird vibe of, I would say, maybe a bit of Excel World when you see Garo on the like Zarba looking motorcycle. Like that thing was badass. That thing looked splendid. I like how this anime actually like puts you into like a more modern day kind of sort of, you know, not too distant future kind of city, and it's not, you know, the whole knights and, you know, soldier kind of thing, like, you know, feudal era stuff that they were doing originally in that weird mystical realm. So I look forward to this anime the most out of all the previous ones. I've only watched the first Garo anime for like the first 5 episodes, and it didn't entirely hook me. I do love Garo, however, I feel like the franchise has kind of gone on a little too long. Like, I did want the actual direct sequel to the original series, but everything else has kind of been like, you know, different characters in different worlds. Doesn't really hook me as much. Like, I kind of just want the story, if it is to continue, to be fully like reconciled and closed off with all of your characters like Koga, Zero, you know, Ray, and, you know, his main, and Koga's main chick. But like they're like jumping around now, and I kind of don't like it. Then again, like, I just feel like the fandom that has now fully accepted Garo as, like, this great toku also is, like, they didn't come in when it was, like, you know, like, I feel like the problem is like, Garo's fandom now is too more of a hype fest than it was of naturally liking it. However, like, you know, I am surprised more people are giving a rat's ass about, you know, Amamiya's work, which is kind of funny, because I rarely see a lot of people talk about him, except in my niche, like, sub-toku crowd, like me, Mucha, ironically, like a few guys I know via Keith Justice, but I rarely saw it during the time of when the show was originally airing, you know what I'm saying, Mucha?
Yeah.
Like, when it was originally airing, no one gave Garo, like, anything. And then when they got, like, their second or their third series, everyone was just, like, eating Garo up like it was nothing. You know, they're like, oh, shit, man, this is great. This is just like Kamen Rider. And I was like, where the fuck were you guys when I was trying to help Garo get recognized? But no, like, seriously, I don't know. Like, I look forward to this Garo anime. It's the only Garo anime, like, I was like, oh, shit, what up?
What
So
up,
I'm
son?
so excited for that. So
Hopefully it's better
hopefully
than
it's good.
Crimson Moon thing.
Oh yeah, because you and me were talking in pre-production that, like, supposedly the second one bombed at like hell. Like, it
Yeah.
just bombed.
It went full Hibiki. Or I guess it went full Time Ranger.
I know the joke we said was that it kind of went full Tokyo during Shin Godzilla, train wrecks for train wrecks. It was like choo choo. But let's talk about Kamen Rider Build, since that's the bigger story right now, is Beard. And honestly, like, we've already talked about this, but I'm indifferent to episode 1, whereas you're liking it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, my issue of indifference is I when watching it, I felt like they set up the world, but I felt like they didn't fully do as much as I expected them to do. And I think it's because, like, when you watch modern, like, Heisei Rider, at least Phase 2 Heisei Rider, they kind of throw it all in your face in the first episode, but because they, like, waited, like, a week before the premiere by saying, we're incorporating, like, older Rider tropes, I felt like it was, like, a weird shift where it was like, I'm happy that they did it, but I don't feel so sure about it, because it was like, let's try to shift our tones to being, like, actually serious, story driven, not all the answers or everything that it's going to lead to is, given to you in episode 1, but then let's have, like, these pretty people be our stars, which, like I said a couple of times even in earlier episodes, that one of my biggest hate is that TaJa gets these really pretty people to be, like, their actors and characters and portray their writers, and I don't feel they fit the mold of what naturally Kamen Rider was built up to be. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I get you.
like, it's funny when you look at, like, certain Sentai actors now, and even though, like, they have, like, these weird baby faces, they're, like, jacked and ripped for shit, and they look like, they should be a Kamen Rider. But then you have these guys who look like they're string beans who don't work out, who are living off of the, what is it, the Shinken Red syndrome of bread and water, and don't have any, like, muscular, like, muscle on their bone portraying your writer, and you're like, this should be a role reversal. This guy should be the Sentai guy, and this guy over here should be your freaking writer. Because I have that weird aesthetic of, like, I hate how just the actors are too pretty boys too much nowadays, and, like, I have to wait for the characters to build, to, like, the growth of the character to build my liking of the actor, rather than the actor helping me, like, kind of get already associated with, a badass hero show.
Yeah, I get you. I can get that complaint. It's very. You want, like, your heroes to look like they're heroes. It's kind of like the superheroes
Yeah,
like
like,
from
it's
the
like,
Showa era or
yeah, like, I have, like,
the
that
Metal Hero
whole
stuff.
stride of having watched Showa and, early Heisei, where you have Metal Hero and Sentai, where they actually looked like, manly men, and, you thought, like, oh, shit's about to get real, and then over the years, the transition, at least with Rider, became more apparent. Like, Sentai, it took them a little bit longer to start casting, even more youthful looking actors, but for a long time, they still tried to hold that, I guess, logic to them, as like, oh yeah, let's keep these, like, really, stoic, sophisticated looking, young but looking elderly like looking actors, because there's, like, some actors who, look like some, like, look at the actresses, like, what's her face in Build right now, she's allegedly 20, but she looks like she's only 14,
Hmm.
the one who helps him make his full bottles.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, back in the day, there's, like, a few writers that looked like writers as well as Sentai actors who are like 25 or 27, but they only looked like they were 20 or 19. We've had that recently, you know what I'm saying? Because what
Yeah, I
was it?
get you.
Blue Buster. What was it? Blue Buster's like 28, and he looked like he was still only 22. But that was
Blue.
that was the thing, is like, I that's my only real indifference on the show, is like, I wasn't expecting it to be treated fully like an old writer series, but at the same time, it was like a weird element of like it's like I think I call it the Gokaiger syndrome, where it was like let's mix elements together of modern and old and see if we can make the perfect blend. Like they were like literally doing like what it is the best match syndrome, and this is what we got. And I was like, I'm gonna need more time to see if it works out. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you can give your thoughts now about what you thought from the first episode, and we'll talk about how we compare the premieres to other premieres.
So first episode of Build, I surprisingly liked it, and I was shocked that I liked it. Going into the series, I just wasn't sure what to really expect. I heard the amnesia plot, and I was just like, oh no, not amnesia plot, not narrative-driven stuff. No, writer, get away from that. But then the first episode happened, and while it does give exposition and explain like what's happening in the world, like what happened with Pandora's box, and how the Japan is like separated by these three different, well, technically they're new countries now, and how each one is run differently, and you kind of get a sense of like what this world is and how over the year Build has been fighting the Smash while trying to get some information about his own memories because he has amnesia. And for the most part, I think that's fine. Like, he's out there fighting, he's protecting people, and also trying to get answers for what happened to him. And everything is set up fine in the first episode, where Ryuga seems to be a connecting link to him because he provides like the best match for finding his lost memories. Because Ryuga also went through what Sento went through, and Sento kind of is intrigued and wants to know more and hopefully get an answer that he's been seeking finally. Because every time he's defeated a Smash, the humans that survive never give him any information because they don't remember anything. And Ryuga hasn't turned into a Smash, but he has memories of what happened there. So he's going to help Ryuga try to clear his name and try to understand, hopefully, get info on what happened to him as well. Especially when it comes to Night Rogue, because all he remembers is that Batman with the steam engine whole aesthetic to him. And that's pretty much what the first episode tells us, but it moves at a very generally good pace of give us information and go to the action. And I really appreciate that it didn't forget about the action, which a lot of the shows lately have seemed to be forgetting, especially early Heisei from like Ryuki to Hibiki probably, where the action just wasn't the important, and Build seemed to be like, we do care about our action a little bit, so we can have fun with it. And as for Sento, I enjoy that he goes off a Tendo Soji vibe, but he isn't as preachy as Tendo. He's
not as head up his ass. He's like he's an intellect, but he actually is written to be a real intellect where he's down to earth, unlike Soji, where he's a Gary Stu. This one's like, no, he's on the spectrum, so it explains his, intelligence.
Yeah. He can talk to people. He interacts with people. He's not preaching to them. He just talks to them. Where Tendo always seemed like he was better than everyone, and he would always preach to them like what they should do because they should listen to him because he's the greatest. Sento isn't like that.
This is why you shouldn't have a Facebook page.
Exactly.
Yeah, Kabuto, you're not allowed to have Facebook anymore, or Twitter.
No more Facebook for you, Tendo.
Fuck you, Tendo.
And like the overall introduction of Sento is a lot more tame compared to like how Tendo was introduced, where he's like taking the guy's wallet and kicks it back at him, the robber. And I'm just like, what the fuck? That's interesting.
Yeah, no, like at least with characters, they're at least written in some regards realistically. I think one thing you and me kind of agreed on, though, that was the one thing we didn't like about this episode, is the whole mystery of the cute little girl who lives with them, and she's supposed to be like helping him make his full bottles, where she has like the Kiyomi syndrome of wizard, where it's like what?
Yeah, that's something that's not explained, and hopefully they will expand upon it. But in terms of first episodes, I think it's very good, or I guess all right. in terms of like compared to other Rider first episodes, this one is handled a lot better in my opinion.
I
In terms of just like writing and directing.
Yeah, I don't know if I said this while we were recording this or in pre-production, but I think I referenced it earlier when I was talking about my views. Was that it kind of gave me when watching this episode like what I remember having my initial vibe of watching Fies and Blade, where it like opens up the world, but it gives you like so many questions, but at the same time you don't feel like you were really fully introduced to the series, but like they're trying to hook you with something, and that's what I felt like when looking at it. Like I still feel like Fies and Blade had a bit of a better opening than this series, but then again, like I think I'm just going off of me originally actually liking them more than being really hyped up for Build. Like I think the only thing that hyped me for Build is the suit aesthetics, but not the idea of the show. Like you know what I'm saying? Like where when
Yeah.
you heard the Amnesia story and the Pandora's box, you were like, nope, nope. And then there's me where I'm like, oh, these suits look nice. These gimmicks look sort of decent. Well, not the gimmick of the bottle, but I mean like the gimmick of the idea of the mix and match fusion kind of thing. I'm like, okay, these kind of look cool. Like Hedgehog and Diamond and Gorilla, like they look cool. But I was like, what's there to actually hook me other than the toy or the thing they're marketing? And watching this, I feel like I'm gonna need more episodes to get hooked on it. It feels like
Yeah.
it reminds me of like how I eventually grew to like say O's a bit when it first started. Was I had to watch the episodes to like get a grasp of it, whereas like episodes like series like Forza Drive or X8, they kind of can like easily just wean me in by the action rather than the story, or some of the characters can wean me in by quirks and shit. This series right now is like it has elements that I think I was saying is called the Gokaiger syndrome ones, where they're trying to mix the best of both worlds of the original like Showa and early Heisei with the modern day aesthetics, and I'm not sure if it's gonna blend real well.
I get what you're saying. I think for me, I agree that I'm not 100% sold on Build. Like, I'm going to give it a few more episodes, but I'm intrigued and feel invested at the moment. Of course, that can all go down the drain like the pill, like a champagne bottle.
Yeah, it reminds me of like with Ghost, where I was like, oh, the first couple of episodes of Ghost actually weren't that bad. Get
Yeah,
past like episode 10 or 12, and you're like, all right, and I'm out of here. I'll see you guys next season.
later. Yeah, because it felt like Ghost kind of lost the plot a bit after its initial like premise.
You know what's a really like we were talking about since we were talking about it earlier, like like when it comes to good pilots or good premieres, I feel like Kuga, Decade, uh, Drive, and Xaid had like really good ones as well as Ryuki. But then like I know you and me both say one of the worst beginnings is Kiva, but actually
Yeah.
there's two other premieres that I really hated, and it was actually Ghost and Wizard. Those two premieres are like those three premieres are like my most hated premieres of all time.
Wizard's first episode is very boring. This, put it simply, it doesn't really hook you at all. It just says, "Oh, this is a thing and this is happening." Blah blah blah. Rings, magic, blah blah blah.
What's funny was there was a premiere when we were talking earlier that I completely forgot that was garbage until you brought it up. Was the O's premiere? Like that was a bad premiere as
Yeah,
well too.
Oz's premiere is pretty bad
Yeah,
too.
so like I do think Build is in one of those areas where you say it's in your like top 5. Since we're almost 20 writers in, I'm gonna say it's like in my at least top 10, maybe top between I'd say between 6 and like 15. It's somewhere in there because like even Blade
And we're
and
speaking in
Fives
terms
are
of
like
Heisei Rider
yeah,
fans
just
too,
Heisei, because like I haven't seen all the Showa premieres. Like I like the episodes I've seen of Showa
because
series were not premieres.
if we're talking about like overall writer, bar none, the best first premiere is Kamen Rider Black.
Thank you, Jesus. Oh, thank God. Thank
Any
God.
Kamen Rider series for me, Kamen Rider Black is
Thank
the
God.
best premiere episode.
Yes. Yes, Black is probably the best premiere, followed by Kuga, and I'm gonna say it, Decade. Decade are like my top 3 premieres, and people are
And
gonna
if
be
we're
like,
talking
go
about
fuck
like
yourself.
all of like Toku, there's Black, and then there's Live Man. But yeah, for me, for Heisei premieres would probably be Kuga, Double, Agito, Forze, Decade, and then Build.
No, those are just kind of solid. I mean, they're pretty solid. I mean, I think you and me both agreed that, like, Decade, Kuga are, like, really some of the best ones we've gotten, which is astonishing since Decade, went to shit in, like, 10 episodes or less.
I find it funny that both Kuga and Forze are the unique writer shows that actually stay true to what their first episode introduced.
Yes, that is probably why. Like, I like Forze, and this is the reason why I like Forze. It reminds me of why I like certain seasons of, like, the early Power Ranger seasons, was just that it was like a rinse, dry, repeat for the entire series, and once in a while you may have got some overarching element, but you didn't get shit, really.
I want to bring this up because I found it interesting. It's a fan theory about what will happen as a potential spoiler to what Sento is.
Okay.
And
do it, because we got to start wrapping up so we have time to do the timelines with VisibleNinja.
All right. So this theory is all thanks to Evil Space Whale on Twitter. She's an amazing artist. I recommend following her and checking out her artwork. And she takes commissions. But her theory is that Sento is the Spider Smash. And what gives off the indication that he's the Spider Smash? Well, the first thought is that we have two villains, Night Rogue and Bloodstark. And Bloodstark is a snake, and Night Rogue is the bat. Where is the spider in all this? Of all the Rider villains, you're not going to have the homage to the first Rider villain, the spider. And then we look at the bottles that Sento uses. They have spider webs on them. They have like a spider web design on them.
Oh yeah, no, I kind of got that vibe with, like, I kept saying to myself, why are there spider webs all over his bottles?
Yeah, and he captures the essence of the Smash in a liquid form. Just like how spiders liquefy their prey to absorb their energy. I'm
not gonna lie, like, I was sitting there and, like, I didn't pay too close attention to it originally, but then, like, when you put it in that place, there's usually, like, a bat, a spider, and for some reason a snake. Like, I don't really understand the element of the snake in Kamen Rider that well, but I know it's been, like, established as, like, one of the main villains that you'll get.
Yeah, it's
bat and spider.
In the manga, the bat, spider, and the cobra were the first three villains.
Yeah, I just know, like, iconically it's always bat and spider, not snake, but they threw snake in there anyways.
Yeah, well, Drive did,
with Machine Chaser, which is why I love Machine Chaser.
Also, when he does his Rider Tick, he entangles the Smash, like they're trapped in a spider web. His color aesthetic is just like Spider-Man's.
God, we need to call Emissary of Hell to stop him now.
Yeah.
He's our worst enemy. Kamen Rider Build.
And she pointed out that his base kind of also has a spiderweb aesthetic to it. Like, the pillars have, like, a spiderweb-ish design.
Yeah, no, I can really see that. Like, I really can see that now, because, like, I was kind of clued into the idea. As soon as you mentioned about the bottles, I was like, oh, shit, that does make sense as to why I was wondering why his looked like spiderwebs earlier on.
And this might be a potential spoiler as well, but the Kamen Rider, the build driver was hacked. And the spider is in the belt, and it's called Spider Cooler. Now, this is just me thinking, but what if that's his final form, where the spider is the animal part, and the cooler contains all the bottles that he uses? Like, you put the drinks inside the cooler, and he can add...
Yeah, I know, because, like, right now there's a form being out there that was translated originally to Spider Refrigerator, not Spider Cooler, but I could see it like that working as well, too.
Yeah.
Because of the hacks. Because, like, the funny thing is, like, I was wondering, though, why all of his bottles... Wait, here's the thing what I think, is he's not the spider, but it's really the girl that's the spider, too.
That's possible, too.
Because think about it, she always, like, goes into, like, that weird, like, machine thing, and then, like, converts the spider-webbed bottles into his full bottles. So maybe she's actually the spider one instead, and he's not the spider one.
It's also kind of hinted at maybe that... Because their base is hidden in a refrigerator.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, there's a lot of foreshadowing now when you put all the pieces together of the puzzle. So who knows?
I hope Toei isn't like... I hope Toei and Bandai and the writer doesn't go like, oh, that's too obvious, we shouldn't do that. Like, no, make it that apparent. Make the foreshadowing make sense.
Like, sometimes when they do it, they don't really ever do that anymore. Like, some of their foreshadowing is just like, oh, nope, swerve, and it's bullshit. Like, here's a good time when it was, like, bullshit. It was, like, elements that were, like, where you were realizing what Urabuchi was doing, but then the producers were like, nah, you gotta change your script. What? Yeah, you gotta change it.
Let,
What?
let's not talk about the one of the greatest fuck ups. This is a shout out to Wizard again. Wise Man being the White Wizard.
Yeah, like, it was obvious the entire time.
Stupidest idea.
It was,
ever,
like,
though.
obvious the entire time, but, like, they should have had that wrap up be, like, a lot sooner than they did it.
Whatever. We can't go on tangents, or else we have to co-sign this podcast with a longer runtime.
Yeah, exactly, and we don't want to ever go over really our 1 hour and 30-minute time ever again. I think we only did it once, and we're never doing that again.
Yeah, because math is on our side now.
Exactly, math is on our side. So, alright, let's, like, just say, like, we think Build is actually pretty good. Like, I'm indifferent on it right now, but I think I'm going to warm up to it as time's going on.
Hopefully, it can keep it up.
Yeah, hopefully.
I saw episode 2, and I enjoyed it just as much as episode 1.
And ironically, I was going to go watch it after we were done recording the news. Ironically.
Nice.
Since we already have the Heisei part done, so we gotta call in VisibleNinja now. Alright, it's time for Godzilla Timelines Part 2. Last week, we had Timelines Part 1, which was the encompass of the Showa era. It was not intended to be as long as it was. However, now we still have VisibleNinja returning to join us this week. And I did say in the last episode, we pretty much did actually record these segments back to back, just for, I guess it was easier for us. But still, we cut it up, we shot it up, and, pretty much this was all recorded on freaking September 1st. Well, actually, it was actually August 31st into September 1st, but still, luckily,
Semantics.
luckily the main discussion points were all recorded practically all in one night. Hopefully, we're just hoping that we can compile Heisei and the Millennium Saga into one. However, there is that possibility that we may have a trilogy on our hands. But
this is before my transformation is complete as President Kaiser.
Yes, before your transformation is complete. However, these episodes would probably air by the time your transformation is completed, which is more of the irony in that, because it's coming.
The assimilation is not yet complete.
Oh yeah, and there's VisibleNinja, even though he's already sitting in this call with us since the last.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So, anyway,
to save him.
Yeah, since technically, if you watch last week's episode and you know that we're recording all on one Skype call, VisibleNinja will just do a little, hey, how you doing again for everybody, just for, layman's terms.
Mm-hmm. Yo, it's VisibleNinja. Hody, hody, hody.
All right.
Hody, hody, hoy.
Now, where I was the host of pretty much the Showa era, Mucha is going to be our host for the Heisei era. The Millennium era is probably going to be hosted by both of us, since there are several timelines, or it might be even hosted by VisibleNinja for the easier ones to diverge into. So, Mucha, let's go into the entirety of how to begin the Heisei era.
All right. Because apparently the Heisei era timeline is very confusing to a lot of people who go watch these movies, especially because if they watch the English dub, which ruins a lot of the intention that one of the films was going for.
No, actually, the English dub, it's not just the English dub, but I've watched it subbed, and it also doesn't convey that unless you read the actual story notes by producers and directors.
I would say it's more clear in the subs, though.
The subs I have never were that clear.
Okay. So anyway, the Heisei era, or at least the first Heisei series before we get into the year 2000, or 1999 for the Japanese fans, starts out with Return of Godzilla, which is a sequel to the original. So put that in your little head right there. The first film happened. It would happen. It existed. First Goji is there. Serizawa's death is there. Everything happened. And then we get into 1984 with Return of Godzilla. And for me, it's probably one of the best sequels to a Godzilla film, to the original Godzilla film. I prefer it over Raids Again, personally. And as a standalone Godzilla film, it's one of my favorites as well. As it's a standalone kaiju film. It really speaks to the era that was happening at that time with the Cold War. I don't know, what do you guys think of Return of Godzilla?
Return of Godzilla, it, like you say, is the best. I think it really builds off of what it was supposed to be as a new take on the franchise, a new take on the film. I, in a sense, having grown up with 85, which is the weaker of the two, I still enjoy it. I still love 84, and I think that they're wonderful in their own regards. I think they're great. I think they're just amazing, and I love how. I think my favorite part about the film really isn't the overall story that is conveyed, but some of the things that they do to emphasize, the menace that is Godzilla.
How do you feel, Ninja or Metal?
Turn to Godzilla. Another personal favorite. It is a bit of it's one of the drier ones of the Heisei era, but that's by necessity of having to reestablish the new status quo that would basically run through through the next decade or so of the movies. So that's kind of understandable, but it does do a really solid job of establishing Godzilla once again in the public consciousness after things got a little silly towards the end, of the Showa era, but we're right back to 54 era kind of light nightmare fuel, I guess you could say, because since Godzilla's not scary, but he is a menace, if you get my drift.
Yeah, I guess return to the more serious, almost.
It is, the Heisei era was definitely a lot more serious than even the very end of the Showa era where they tried to get a little more serious. It is more serious than I would say pretty much everything else in the Showa era, with the exception of the original.
My analogy I used, I don't know if you guys would see it, but Return of Godzilla is kind of like the Kamen Rider Black.
Yeah, I could see that.
Of the Very Godzilla apt. Franchise. Yeah.
This is how I would go a little bit further, where I feel like it, in the sense of Godzilla 84, it's a bit of Kamen Rider Black to the overall facade of all the way up to Shinzo and Jay. It has that feel about it, because think of the early scene of Shin where he stalks the cops doing the sting operation in the car and the city skyline. It uses a lot of that kind of modern day noir-esque on showing actually the intake skyline. When you first see Japan in 84, when the reporter's okay, I'm coming home to base, why are you goddamn running my story? It does a lot of wonderful panoramic fucking flashes of the city nightlight, and it kind of reminds me, or when I watch Shin, I feel like they have some same parallels on how they wanted to approach the city, you know what I'm saying, when they would show those takes,
those
transitions.
Yeah, it's definitely, I guess some would say, a return to form from the original.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like this movie was made by fans who watched the original film and wanted to return to that aesthetic. Would you agree, or somewhere?
No, I know where you're going with this, because don't forget, Tanaka was up a lot of people's asses trying to bring back Godzilla for the last 4 years. Even
trying to get America to make one.
And that didn't turn out too well.
Yeah. So far what we got is that the original happened and Return of Godzilla happens. Mm-hmm. And at the end of Return of Godzilla, he falls into Mount Mihara, I believe it's called.
Yeah, it's Mount Mihara.
With the great music that accompanies his fall.
Death. Yeah, that's some of the best music right there.
Yeah.
I like the music that plays when he falls in, but the pop song was eerie, and it took a while for me to get it used to.
I kind of like the pop song because it kind of feels like that whole of, Godzilla will return one day. Who knows when, though. Next in our Heisei timeline, we have Godzilla versus Biollante, which literally takes place 5 years after the original, and was made 5 years after the original. So it all lines up pretty well.
However, the opening act does take place within the first weeks after the attack.
Yeah, immediately after.
A lot of it takes place in the first month or two after the initial attack, then does a time skip.
Yeah, skips the 5 years later where, I guess, Japan's recovering from Godzilla's initial attack. The existence of Godzilla has opened up Pandora's box of genetic testing and what to do with it. Ergo, we got Biollante, who is a result of genetic testing with plants, Godzilla cells, and human cells. Because mad scientist created her. Because he got all depressed that his daughter died from, was it a terrorist attack?
It was it was technically a terrorist attack, but it was more like corporate espionage, where
Yeah, yeah.
another place went and bombed these guys who like pretty much from what we understand, it was either the CIA bombed a place in an actual real place, but more of a fictitious version of the real place that was more, Muslim related. Because the funny thing is, I did some
Arabic
research.
related, yeah.
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 I did some research, right? And the place that I think, got it, Ceridia, is a real place, but it's not located anywhere where actually the real place is, which is ironic. I think because I think they just chose a name of an actual city, which I think is called Ceridia, but they made it a country in this telling of Biollante. It was kind of confusing. Because when I Google search the place, it's a real place. I just don't know what it is. But yeah, it was corporate espionage, because they had Godzilla cells, which they had hired a hitman to steal for them, and she was killed in the bombing of the testing to try to create wheat to manufacture and sell for the world.
Yeah, yeah. Make wheat grow in the desert.
And somehow her soul was reincarnated as roses.
Yeah, at least that's what he thinks.
Well, that's what Mickey said.
Yeah.
And there we go, one of our first big things about the Heisei Era. Mickey.
Yeah. Mickey, the psychic who's connected to Godzilla.
She made love with Godzilla.
Oh,
Mind love. Mind love.
Yeah, let's just keep it to mind love, because especially when she starts off as like a 16-year-old schoolgirl, it's
yeah, it's like oh boy, I didn't think. It's like Godzilla goes to.
It's ironic because
Godzilla's 65 million years old. You're your senior. What the fuck is wrong with you?
No, it's ironic that she got her start in a movie with a monster that has a lot of tentacles. I'm just saying.
Oh, Japan.
And I was just gonna say how it was probably a good idea to introduce somebody who would try to link the movies together, and I guess they chose Miki to do that, since she was kind of since she was a major character of Biollante, even though her role would kind of fluctuate throughout the movies. But
no, her role in Biollante was very small, and yeah, it would be the smallest in the.
I know, but she was integral to the plot, though.
She is basically kind of like the human voice of Godzilla, which she became. Yeah. She became Godzilla's human
she's
voice.
not like co-starring like she would in Space Godzilla, but she is kind of very important to the story, though.
I was gonna say, interesting enough is that I'm not sure if the manga in Return of Godzilla manga states it or the Biollante one states it, but Miki's parents were killed in the Return of Godzilla manga. Like, that kind of establishes their connection right there of why she doesn't have any family. Is that because they were killed during the first Godzilla attack in '84? But yeah, Godzilla vs. Biollante introduces, which would become kind of like the norm of the Heisei Era, of Godzilla's opponents kind of evolving into different forms as he fights them. It happens in King Ghidorah, Mothra, Mechagodzilla. Not so much Space Godzilla, but it kind of does in some way, shape, or form, and then Destroya. And yeah, so how does everybody feel about like the genetic testing part of like, do you feel like that Big Godzilla's like theme of just science going a little too far?
I feel like the genetic testing part is one of those things where it's a story that was taken more seriously had it been approached in the Showa era, because it would have been like typical, 60s, 70s super robot anime-esque of like, mad scientists like Mifune or whatever, who had Titanosaurus. He'd have been like creating like almost like that one Godzilla manga where we got Sea Baragon and Flying Ebra, where they would just be like genetically splicing kaiju to make kaiju to kill Godzilla or to take over the world, where in this case it was more or less saying, if you do this, you could end up creating things way worse than Godzilla unintentionally.
Yeah. And
that was the thing, like you and me said, about there was this weird vibe in the 80s where Japan started realizing that people were getting a little too ham-handsy with science.
Yeah.
Like, people were doing stuff with science that could lead to really bad results. Because we approached this in an earlier episode, as well as the Shin episode 2 weeks ago, because we're recording almost a week or two apart. But in the last Shin episode, we even referred to a point where even Matt Frank, IDW writer, artist for the Godzilla comics, stated that, like, he found it a very weird thing that the late 80s, early 90s, that Japan had this weird stigma towards science. They thought that at least genetic science was becoming unholy.
Well, it's like manipulating life. You're trying to play God, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like, how far do we go with that intention in mind?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's what I think is the best story about Biollante, but I feel like when I watch Biollante, it's a great film, but I feel like at times parts of the story aren't there, and they magically just reappear again. Like there's so much going on in this film, but it feels like a whole lot of nothing is achieved.
There's a deep lore to the movie, at least. I feel like there's a lot of like stuff they introduced into the Godzilla world that's really cool and really makes you think and kind of think of your own ideas as well.
Because yeah, like that's the thing. Is like you can kind of see where I'm saying. It's like a lot happens, but yet it also feels like when you're watching it, nothing really kind of fixes itself, because you have the scientist guy who does crazy shit, and the only thing that really gets him in the end is the hitman kills him, and then eventually that hitman's killed. So that kind of fixes the plot hole kind of there. There's the whole it's one of those ones where like a lot of things do get wrapped up in the final act, but like through the course of the film, there were just plot lines just running alongside each other, and it doesn't hurt the film, but like when you go back, it feels very trippy when you know what I'm saying, when you start like analyzing it. And I think that's why the film in the fandom is regarded as like the penultimate Godzilla movie of the Heisei era, because it does so much with so little time, and you don't really notice that until you look back at the film more than
Well, it was called by Godzilla fans the best Godzilla movie ever made. Even beyond the 54.
I still say that's divisive, because like it's a great Godzilla film, but I don't think it's the best.
I know, but I'm just saying that's like what happened.
I know
Yeah.
in Japan it was voted the best one ever made.
Yeah. It's an interesting film, and in terms of timeline, Godzilla gets out of the volcano due to
The dopey terrorists.
yeah, like basically terrorists hold Japan hostage, saying that if you don't give us these antibacterial nuclear things, we're going to release Godzilla.
Then they were gonna do it, but then the Ceridian agent shows up.
Yeah.
And he fucks up everything, and he's really the cause.
That was the funniest shit ever. He's like, shit, it's him.
Yeah, like I love that. The dopier terrorists that were hired to put the bombs there and do the exchange are like, shit, it's that Ceridian agent. Damn it! And then I love how what is it? Agent Gondo and the other guy are in the truck trying to find the thing, and Gondo realizes they're never gonna find the button, and you just see him like put his glasses on, light his cigarette. Well,
amen.
I think in the dub he says amen, but I think in the Japanese one, I think he says welcome home Godzilla or something like that. Like I think I think they changed the audio to make it like better. You know what I'm saying? Like the line to sound hilarious, but I think in the Japanese one he's just like, well, here's his wake up. Light cigarette.
He's just like, amen. He's just like done with the shit.
Like if this was any other franchise, they would have fucking found the kill switch. But because it's a Godzilla film, it was like the best shit ever. Because like knowing you and me, Mucha, we would have found the kill switch 3 seconds earlier. But because it's actually a Godzilla film, these fuckers couldn't. Yeah, they just couldn't. They were just frantically pressing shit to press shit. I was actually waiting for them to be like, the bombs went off 20 seconds earlier. How? Oh no. It's just pans to them realizing they triggered the kill switch.
I like the scene where like the children are like they have their drawings, and Miki's just like, okay, I got some bad news for you. And
because Mickey says
what's happened?
Mickey says to the instructor at the psychic the psychic institute, she's like, I've been having this strange dream and the children are having it too. What is it? I gotta tell you. Hold on a minute. Hey children, are you guys ready? Yeah. And then Mickey's like, that's what I was trying to tell you. Like,
and then there's a picture of Godzilla destroying everything, and like, they're just like,
yeah,
picnic, everybody, picnic. So anyway, Biollante ends with the anti-nuclear bacteria entering Godzilla's body, and he doesn't die. He just kind of is defeated because he doesn't really have the energy to really fight back or do anything.
Yeah, he's basically like screw this, I'm out.
Screw this guy.
Pretty much like how when the cadmium shells put him comatose. In this case, it wasn't making him comatose. It just was like causing him to have like a shit ton of inflammation And
It's kind of like he had like a long surgery, and he's like recovering from it. He's like has like so much morphine in his body and drugs and stuff.
like I think someone said it was like as if Godzilla magically caught lupus, and it was like a curable disease.
Lupus. What is this house now? Lupus.
Yeah, he just got really, really tired for like a couple years.
Yeah.
You
We don't
just
see
have to
that
go sleep it
motherfucker until
off.
1991/1992 with the Ghidorah incident.
Yeah.
Which causes a lot of the issues, especially
Yep,
Lord,
to
yes.
whoever subtitles you
Godzilla
have.
versus
You're dubbed.
King Ghidorah is the main attraction of this timeline, because it makes or breaks the timeline for a lot of people.
Does, especially because of Space Godzilla referencing
Yeah.
fucking movies that shouldn't exist anymore. If you go by the dub.
But they do exist, Wheelz, and I'll explain how.
No, we've already gone through this, but we have to explain it to them.
Yes. Okay, so the next film in 1981 that was released was Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, a matchup between two of Toho's most iconic monsters. What could possibly go wrong? Well, I'll tell you.
A lot of things.
I can tell you what happened. Back to the Future happened. Back to the Future Part 2 happened, I should say. And Back to the Future Part 2's success made the director think, oh, that's the reason Biollante failed in the theaters. It's because of this time travel movie. Fuck it, I'm going to put time travel in this movie. And that creates a lot of the madness that is the Heisei timeline. Because technically speaking, Heisei Godzilla was always going to happen. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess is the term. Or I forget the exact term for this paradox, but it's the paradox that it was going to happen no matter what. Like the time travel was going to happen, therefore creating the creature.
Predestination paradox.
Yeah, predestination paradox. Thank you, Metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically what happened in this movie. Now the dub makes it seem like, oh, they got rid of the original Godzilla in 1954, 1984, and Biollante didn't happen. They didn't exist because they got rid of the Godzilla that they thought it was. Here's the problem. That wasn't the Godzilla that they thought they were getting rid of. There's two Godzillas. There were two Godzillas all along.
What?
Godzilla A was the 1954 Godzilla. He woke up from the nuclear testing, he attacked Tokyo, did all his damage, and died from Serizawa. That's what happened. Godzilla B, they created by traveling back through time. They put him into the Bering Sea. I believe it was the Bering Sea.
Yes, it was.
Bering Sea.
And he laid there as he was injured, because in the movie, the Godzillasaur, as they called it, fought against America to protect its territory. And the Japanese soldiers saluted the creature for saving them, even though it really had no intention of saving them. It was protecting itself. But that's beside the point. And the people, the time travelers, the Futurans, they teleported the creature to the Bering Sea. They did not teleport him to the future. That's the thing people seem to miss. They did not transport the Godzillasaur into the future. They did not have that kind of technology. Mm-hmm. They only moved him. They only teleported him to the Bering Sea in the same year. So as the Godzillasaur is laying in the Bering Sea...
Yeah, that's the problem, because here's the funny thing. This is where what happens is it's not just the English dub. It's due to the guys who ever produced the English dub use the same subtitles when distributing it to other countries. Because, as I told you, the subtitles, I think unless you get the more modern ones directly sent out through TaJa, you don't know that. They actually state that their teleportation system can work not just teleportation, but time travel teleportation as well, too.
I see. Because the ones that I watched did not state that. It was talking more about, we'll just teleport him to another location.
Yeah, a lot of it is kind of, I think, hectic due to either what country dubbed it or what country subbed it and which version you're dealing with. Because if you read the actual real production notes on Wikia or from other authors that wrote books and shit like that, they had, like, the master copy, you know, because they had to contact TaJa. Some of them actually, you know, got legal right to look at the the production notes and figured that shit out, because there's a few Godzilla books out there that are unauthorized by Toho, but Toho then later on was like, yeah, you can keep unauthorized in the name, but you're okay with us now.
Yeah. So the Godzillasaur is in the Bering Strait, and in 1970, a nuclear sub sank into the Bering Strait in the 1970s, and that nuclear energy mutated that Godzillasaur that they thought was the original Godzilla. So essentially, they just created Godzilla B because of time travel. Predestined paradox happened, folks. That's what happened. There's two Godzillas. There's always been two Godzillas. He wasn't the original Godzilla, no matter how much other things say it was. They were never the same Godzilla. 84 Godzilla is not 54 Godzilla. 84 Godzilla is 84 Biollante King Ghidorah to Destroya.
Even though they still fucked that shit up with the ending of Destroya. as well as, you know, the other shit. It's confusing. Blame just Toho in general for not
blame script writing.
Blame them for not going back and QCing their own shit.
Yeah, blame the poor scripting. But that's essentially what happened. There's an article on, I think, Sci-Fi Japan that explains it in full detail if you want to read it.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure they have it, because as even I've told you, fans are still debating it because of the wrong fucking dub and subs that were released that don't clean up the facts. Because there's a part later when, what is it, Ichinose, the author, like, starts realizing, oh shit, it wasn't the same Godzilla, when he pulls out the Bering Sea newspaper. He never establishes, oh, we just didn't teleport it and send it to the future, we only just teleported it and moved it here. So they make you think that when they teleported it to the future, it erased the regular Godzilla. It was standing in its place. And I'm like, no, because technically Biollante and 84 and everything standing there shouldn't exist anymore. And I think...
But it did.
Yeah, and the weird thing is technically, like, that was the thing, too, because I think one of the only things in the dialogue is when you watch it in its original Japanese audio, they even state that, oh, the changes will technically occur, but, like, it'll take time for certain things to possibly change about your lives, but somehow you guys will be unaffected by the time stream because you're the ones who caused it, because somehow time works like that, that even though, you know, the history that could have happened that wiped out Mickey's family, she would still somehow remember both times. Like, they said that, oh yeah, you'll remember both timelines, like, it'll be a flashpoint, but only you guys will remember both times. And I'm like, that makes no sense either.
Yeah, essentially, the time travel is that Godzilla B was always created because of this time travel paradox. It isn't the original Godzilla.
But the problem is trying to explain it to people who've watched Heisei Era and then seen the Space Godzilla film fucks everything up. If you watch fucking Space Godzilla, you're fucked.
It's due to poor scripting. I still have fun with the film because it's kind of like the King Kong versus Godzilla. It's more of a spectacle to me.
Yes, it is a spectacle. That's why I like it. But as a film, I get a lot of hate for it because I say, had they went back and really QC'd their shit, it could have opened up so many more doorways for them.
Yeah, it would have made things much more clearer for people who've been arguing about this for years.
Yeah, because as a kid, like I kind of stumbled upon it, like, somewhere when I was, like, 15 or 16, but there was no apparent proof because the subtitles I saw that were even from, like, Europe had practically, like, one-for-one dialogue of the English dub, which made me go, oh my god, did they just fuck up completely? But then when I'd go to the Wikia pages, or where I'd go to shit like, you know, Sci-Fi Japan, Raigon himself, and, like, two other Godzilla, like, you know, historians, like, everyone was, like, going, technically, it's ambiguous, so actually everything could be correct. And I'm like, wait, what? They're all right? They're all right. Like, everyone was like, like, the historians themselves were like, no, everything's correct. Everything people believe about this film. Your idea is correct. Your theory is correct. His theory is correct. And I was like, so it's more about that? And then, like, I think in the last 5 or 7 years, more information came out stating, oh yeah, we fucked up. Like, wait, what? Yeah, it's been actually decisive the entire time.
But yeah, it's basically, just for simple terms, Heisei Godzilla is another Godzilla entirely. Always will be another Godzilla. He's Godzilla 2. Exactly. And
actually, technically, he's Godzilla 3, but in this timeline, he's Godzilla 2.
Yeah, in this timeline, he's Godzilla 2.
Like you guys were saying, it actually does make a lot more sense the way you guys described it. So, even though I already had, like, a decent grasp on it to begin with, but It does make
No,
more
if
sense.
it was a decent grasp on it, we wouldn't have argued like for the last 4 years that we've known each other.
I know, but like now I have a decent grasp on it. That's what I'm trying to get across, good sir. I see. We'll have to agree to disagree. Yeah. But I'm with Mucha here. I do definitely enjoy the movie, not only because of King Ghidorah, but the time travel escapades are, well, not really wacky, but they do add something new to the series, and it does introduce us to a bigger, badder Godzilla, which is never a bad thing. So, yeah, I all for large scale time screwery if it's a positive result. Although maybe not for Japan.
I think my only issue with this film isn't not just the paradox, but I'm one of the guys who never liked the Futurian Ghidorah. I just did not like the end result about it. I felt like he was too wimpy. And I know they made him wimpier to make Godzilla look bigger and badder, but he just felt so...
That's only because they made Godzilla stronger in the film, like unintentionally made him stronger.
Yeah, like I think my favorite moment in the movie isn't when he kills Commander Gondo or whatever, I forget what his name is because everyone's like Gondo in my head. I don't know why. But
gone, baby, gone.
But when he goes to kill, not the guy from the military, but it's when the Futurians get teleported there, when M11 sends them there, and they like, oh, I guess we jumped. No, we haven't yet. Where the hell are we then? Opens up. Oh, god damn it.
Damn it. Yeah, when he kills the Futurians, that's great.
That was
like the ultimate troll. He's just kind of like, man, we made it out of there. Phew. That was close.
Also, here's the thing. If also was it Ichinose or whatever, or what's his face, the writer or whatever, or I forget what his name was. If he was such a poor writer, why did he have such a badass actual house? Like his house, like looked like he.
Writers apparently make
his house was pretty pimpin'.
Yeah, because his house was badass, but yet supposedly he's just a floundering writer. So I'm like, so are you rich and just decided to be a writer? But yeah, no, then, Godzilla decides to wake up, underwater, and crazy shit happens. Mucha, where does that go to next?
Oh, it goes to Godzilla versus Mothra, or Godzilla and Mothra, Battle for the Earth!
The world!
AKA Hidora, Second Coming.
Oh yeah, Batra, First Coming.
Hey kids, I hope you like blatant environmentalist messages. Because this movie's got it in spades.
It's got it, but is it as annoying and ham-fisted as Hidora? Probably not.
No, that's called Rebirth of Mothra 1 and 2.
Yeah. I mean, like, some of it is kind of a little blunt, especially when they're on the island saying, wow, this island's falling apart. God damn it. Can't we humans learn? And then it's kind of, then it becomes kind of a minor kind of message for the rest of it, mainly dealing with thieves and why you maybe shouldn't screw with giant eggs.
So, Godzilla versus Mothra, it's an interesting entry, and it reintroduces and remakes Mothra into the Heisei Era with a new origin and new purpose and kind of like a new foundation altogether, with the whole idea that there's a quote-unquote evil Mothra, but we call it the Black Mothra because Batra doesn't give a shit about humanity. He's basically like Heisei Gamera.
Hey, it's just like I've watched this thing in something called Ultraman Gaia, but Gaia didn't come out yet.
And like the returning theme of the Heisei films is that some of the influences of other Hollywood films, where Biollante was like James Bond, and King Ghidorah was Back to the Future. Mothra was more of a Indiana Jones type adventure for the first half of the film, where they're trying to explore the ancient artifacts and learn about the Mothra mythology and what Mothra is, as well as what the fuck Batra is. And Godzilla's involved because he gets woken up and he has a bad mood. A meteor woke him up and he's just like, ah, shit, what the hell? Who woke me up? Why are those kids playing the damn video games? The one cool
I'm
thing...
just sitting there about like going, but video games are barely mentioned in this movie. It's in Space Godzilla.
True. The cool... Like, there is like one great scene in this movie, like, great, that I really love. It's when they're wondering where the fuck Godzilla is, and it turns out that Godzilla, through like sheer will and grit, was surfing underneath Mount Fuji. Like he was swimming through lava until he finally.
Yeah, he's in the lava, and then as like, what is it, in the helicopter, Ultraman Taro is like, holy shit, I did not think he'd do this. Like, Taro's just standing there like, what the I'm gonna need to jump down there, plant my flower, and box this motherfucker. Taro! Ultraman number 6! Dun, 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 dun. And then back at the base, Tarada's just, smoking a doobie with freaking, Hayata. Takarada and her, because remember, one of the guys as a 4-star naval officer is goddamn freaking Hayata. He's just standing around in the background as Tachibana is arguing with Takarada. He's just like, what do we do next? Ah! Like, he's like mind-fucked. He's like,
we hope and pray nothing bad happens.
I don't know why, but I love the dub of him overreacting and freaking out, like the dub voice of him going, how is he still alive? Ah!
I like that Takarada's character is just kind of like, this is the Earth pissed off at us, so he's gonna have like Godzilla and Mothra.
Oh yeah, like Takarada's just standing there as like a hard-boiled scientist, and then there's like, Tachibana overreacting. There's Hayata as like a 4-star general, and then there's Ultraman Taro just being suave and debonair, going, hey, my number 1 student, you mind if I get to smash that box? Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm waiting for my evil divorcee husband to turn good again. Oh, damn
it.
And fun fact, divorcee husband, Ultraman the Next.
Damn right. And you know what comes after the next? Nexus!
And it all comes full circle.
Yo, you know what the funniest thing was when I saw the trailers for Ultraman the Next, I kept saying to myself, oh my god, it's Indiana, Japan.
Indiana, Japan. Pretty much. But yeah, this version of Mothra introduced the fairies. It's not like, I guess, the fairies of Mothra, but they're called the Cosmos.
They were actually fucking fairies that could fly and shoot laser beams.
They weren't just little people; they were mystical beings.
Which is all kinds of cracktacular, but
spectacular fun.
Well, hey, the fairies in Rebirth of Mothra would go even further, but
further beyond.
Further beyond.
Which I think we should point out that Rebirth of Mothra doesn't take place in Heisei.
Yeah, Rebirth of Mothra is often
it doesn't. It's like a skewed timeline. Like, I've read story notes in production that originally they wanted to actually make it that, oh, this is the what if of if Mothra had sealed Godzilla and Batra and nothing happened afterwards. But then they were like, nah.
Just make it its own continuity. Just
fam.
Use the regular Mothra prop anyways, because no one's gonna give a fuck.
I mean, they're kind of right. But I like this film. It's pretty fun. I like the whole family like trying to get back together. I like Indiana, Japan. He's pretty amusing, and I enjoy Batra because he's kind of like the precursor of what Gamera would be, except he's not as much.
He's a super dick.
Yeah, like Batra's a little bit more of a dick against the humans than Gamera is, but still, the precursor.
The best way to explain it is he's douchebag Agul.
He's douchebag Agul, yes. He's the blue ultra that we all deserve. But yeah, I like the introduction of Batra. I thought he was like a pretty cool counter to Mothra, and he isn't like a benevolent evil being. He's just more hard-boiled with his tactics.
I don't think that's hard-boiled. That's just scumbaggery.
He just doesn't give a shit about humanity. He cares for the Earth. What else do you want from him?
Exactly. Oh yeah, I definitely like Batra, yeah, because it is a nice kind of dichotomy, like kind of yin and yang kind of thing. Plus, I like the idea of an evil Mothra, just because that's kind of cool. Yeah, like the film it very clearly has a message behind it, but it's not too in your face, and the human drama isn't too bad. Like I've seen far worse. Yeah, I've seen far worse. And Indiana, Japan is one of the best things about this movie. So
it's true. And then shout out to the guy who would eventually be in Godzilla Millennium.
Dude, he's like in like 4 different Godzilla films. If you think about it,
it's true.
Yeah. He really is. He trolls around. He's just like, ha 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 ha. I'm going to get my own movie where I'm the main guy.
Well, it's his time to shine. Yeah, this film the film ends with Batra and Mothra working together to fight Godzilla because clearly Godzilla's the bigger threat. Because Godzilla...
it could have been worse. It could have been Godzilla and Mothra having to fight Bagon.
Oh God, you're right.
Here's concepts and creations, motherfucker.
Don't shout the Gigamoth.
Shout out to a Space Godzilla, because eventually we'll get to that reference.
But yeah, it ends with Mothra and Batra defeating Godzilla. Batra sadly dies due to his wounds because Godzilla don't give a shit.
And then Mothra decides to use a sealing jutsu that doesn't fucking work.
Yeah. Was it a sealing jutsu or was she honoring his life?
No. The argument is that it's supposed to be a sealing spell, like an actual sealing spell, but it didn't fucking work, and so they were deciding to do it again in the later movies, because you see that Mothra uses it not just once but twice to defeat, technically, Ghidorah and Dagara. Like, it's like a fucking sealing thing to make sure shit doesn't get worse, like, after she killed it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
My speculation, just like fan theory speculation, is that when she was doing it, Godzilla already escaped at that point.
Oh, yeah, like they dropped Godzilla.
Yeah,
like she was like sitting there like, oh, Godzilla's probably down there, you know, unconscious. And I'm sitting there like, you dropped him not too far off from the water. So what I'm thinking is like, he just hit it, slightly concussed, not concussed, but like does that typical thing like when you see a body hit water but they're not dead or out cold from the impact. They just probably sprawled and spun and like then just swam, you know. So like
he pulled the same thing he did in earlier in the film when he went to like a magma stream and just went like, "Book it, I'm out of here." It's great.
And then Mothra's like, "I'm gonna go into space because Godzilla will never harm you again.
I'm gonna go into space to stop this meteor that's gonna crash into your planet."
Yeah, and then the irony happens is that Mothra realizes it, so it starts sending beacons to Earth to be like, "Hey guys, Godzilla's alive and shit's getting weird out here. Funky shit's going on."
Wouldn't it be funny? I'm not sure if this was intentional or if it even like implied, but the larger meteoroid that Mothra was going to stop was actually Space Godzilla the entire time.
There was like that huge fan theory that it was a part of whatever Space Godzilla came out of, but that was also to tie into the whole original final product. Because if you if you read the Space Godzilla drafts, the third or fourth draft of the original Space Godzilla film, it better incorporated Mothra in the final act, that when Mogira and Godzilla were fighting, Mothra just finally appears and is like kind of exhausted from flying through space, but still able to help put up a fight.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
it was
I remember reading some
or
of
it
that
was
stuff.
either a part of the Mecha Godzilla story. I forget. It was one of
It's
the earlier
somewhere
drafts
along
that
there.
Mothra was supposed to reappear during one of those two fighting whatever was the space entity, because remember, the original Mecha Godzilla was supposed to be a bioorganism. Then Space Godzilla was the excess of what was supposed to be, what was it, Mecha Godzilla, which was now Azromon, and then Azromon became Space Godzilla.
Space Godzilla, the man who can control dragonflies and be a psychic. But that's later on in this discussion. So after the sealing of Mothra, we have our next film in the series, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, aka Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, and it does a callback to Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah with the UNGCC taking the parts from Mecha King Ghidorah and basically using that technology to create their own weapon again called Mechagodzilla. And I like that callback.
The first movie where they established the G-Force as the G-Force.
Yeah, the international force that's against Godzilla, that it's not just Japan anymore, it's everybody. It's the world.
It's the world versus Godzilla.
And I like that callback that they're like, oh yeah, Mecha King Ghidorah happened. Let's use his technology to fight Godzilla. And it also explains how Ghidorah was normal in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah when the Futurans found them in the future. So all this comes full circle again.
Yeah, it kind of does, actually, when you think about it. Like, no, because shouldn't the injury still be apparent from when they taken off the, like... It's confusing. I'll explain it later.
Good.
Good. But, yeah, they make Mechagodzilla, and also introduced into the Heisei Era is... an old acquaintance of ours. Perhaps you've heard of him, called Rodan. Have you guys heard of this guy?
I have heard of this Rodan.
I hear this version, though, was shallow and pedantic.
He was more of a bigger brother, if you will. as also introduced was Baby Godzilla, aka the Little Godzilla, aka Godzilla Jr. And that's when we start to get the Miki sort of realizing Godzilla's not necessarily this evil entity that everybody makes him out to be. It's because of Baby Godzilla. And I kind of enjoyed the relationship Baby Godzilla has with the human. I forget her name on the top of my head. Azusa or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And how they have like this mother-child relationship. But also at the same time, he has like a connection to Godzilla and Rodan in that Rodan's like his brother and Godzilla's the same species as him. So they're connected in that way through like species and connection like that.
Yeah, but the issue was because Rodan was technically somehow its sibling, it was afraid of Godzilla till Mickey was able to be like, yo, no, you gotta go with that guy. He's your parent. That's your dad.
Yeah, that's your papa. I think it was that either Baby Godzilla was in the Rodan nest, so it didn't know that Baby wasn't part of its family. It just had it through like instinct. I think they call it like what, brood parasitism or something.
Yeah,
they explain it in the film. They explain it in the film.
Yeah, that basically because it was in the nest, it thinks it's.
They have like a bond, basically.
Yeah, it's an offspring bond.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it leads to that tragic moment where Rodan's like, I have to protect my little brother somehow, and I have to do this by giving my energy to something that's strong enough to potentially beat this thing, aka Mechagodzilla.
Piloted by scumbag from Kamen Rider Shin. Yes.
Shin.
True.
The irony. The
irony is palpable. But I really enjoy this film. I really enjoy like what it does for Godzilla. I enjoy Baby Godzilla. I enjoy the whole relationship he had with Azusa and Rodan. And I like how it introduces the whole thing of the creatures being able to like provide energy to one another, because that's going to be very important later on in the series.
Yes, VisibleNinja, your thoughts on the craziness?
Now, this was essentially my absolute favorite Godzilla movie as a kid, and it still ranks up there today. Like obviously others have kind of moved further up the list as I've grown older, but I still have a soft spot for this one. Just because I love Mechagodzilla, even though he's not a true suit, he's more of a maquette or a puppet, but still, the idea of a metal Godzilla kind of beating the shit and almost killing actual Godzilla, that's pretty badass. And then, of course, you got to have Fire Rodan coming in, raining his freaking uranium beams. And then the ending, yeah, it's pretty freaking epic. And, of course, this isn't the end of the Mechagodzilla legacy, but it was a pretty decent movie, and Baby wasn't too bad. I mean, yeah, the whole thing where it can call Rodan was a little, it's a little groan-worthy for me, but you know what? It's a good movie, and I still love it.
I feel like it makes sense in some way, shape, or form that it's able to call for help. It's like, help! Someone help!
My eyes are getting glow red. Help!
Help, SOS! It also introduced the fact that Godzilla has a second brain.
Yeah! Which is a weak point that they never attack ever again.
Well, because they're afraid of fucking Rodan's gonna come back and just give him energy.
Pretty much.
Also because Godzilla completely obliterated the only thing that could potentially do that.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, shit, that's gone. Should we
when
go?
You guys gonna do that then? Turn it into a shitty-ass other mecha that won't do shit?
There's a reason for why it was Mogera.
I know there's a reason why it was Mogera.
Yeah, I like that.
Because they still wanted it to be a combiner.
That, and also because they thought that having a Mecha Godzilla and Godzilla team up against Space Godzilla would be overkill.
Yeah, they thought it was like overkill after they made Godzilla so fucking overkill in the first. They were like, yeah. Even though that meant they should have just made Space Godzilla stronger, since the lore of how Treadmasters promoted the fuck out of Space Godzilla made him like god tier over Destroyer, Orga, and freaking even Like, if you compare his bio, he's, like, even supposedly stronger than Kaiser Ghidorah with the crazy shit Space Godzilla does before Kaiser Ghidorah was even created.
Space Godzilla is an interesting kaiju that's in a very interesting film. But anyway, Mechagodzilla ends with Godzilla and Baby going together at sea as he adopts the child as his own. With, I guess, part of the spirit of Rodan guiding him, saying, take this child in. But that's just fan speculation, of course. And then the next entry into the franchise, or the Heisei Era, is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. I guess some people call it the Black Sheep. Would you guys agree that someone would call it the Black Sheep?
It is the black sheep of the Godzilla era because it feels like Fukuda directed it because of the stupid shit that happens.
It is a bit. The tone is a little weird, but it's another case where, like, I actually do really like this movie, but yeah, the tone is kind of a contrast to the other Heisei movies.
See, I'm agreeing with you, Ninja. I do kind of enjoy this film as well. Like, I have fun with watching it. It's kind of a blast, but it has these aspects to it that make it like feel like a black sheep in the tone and its setting and kind of like directing.
Here's the way to explain it. It has that Fukuda style when they fight the Yakuza. That's the problem. It has the Fukuda style when they go and fight the Yakuza. There's a little bit of the campy, weird Showa-esque shit with the whole, let's just use Mickey as a conduit to control Godzilla kind of bullshit. But then everything else around it with the actual, like, horror that is Space Godzilla, the need of using Mogira alongside Godzilla, was like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend bullshit. Where everything, like, when you watch the final act, you had to sit through, like, an hour of bullshit just to get a half hour of an actual full-fledged, like, Godzilla versus Gigan. Like, the entire last half act is just the actual fight and nothing else. It's just fight.
That could be fun, yeah. Like, that could be just, like, it could be like that Megalon thing where, like, once the fighting starts, you're just, like, pumped and ready to go.
Yeah, because, like, that's a good description of why a lot of kids growing up loved Space Godzilla, outside of Treadmasters milking it for what it was worth.
Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, the origin of Space Godzilla is... Technically,
that's where these paradoxes come into play.
That's where, like, everybody starts getting really confused because Biollante exists, and people are wondering, like, wait, didn't Biollante not happen because of King Ghidorah? But as we stated earlier, it did happen. It's just poorly explained in the film. But yes, Biollante and Mothra still happened, and the origins of Space Godzilla is that Godzilla cells went to a black hole and kind of mutated into space, absorbing like these crystals to make this abomination of a fully sentient, evil Godzilla, something that we've never seen before, but not really. Also introduced in the film is Mogira, that was in the Mysterians, right?
Yep, Mysterians.
Yeah, who was remade in the Heisei Era, and he looks pretty nice in the film. I'm not gonna lie, he looks very sleek and well made, and I like the combiner aspect of him as well.
Hopefully which they wanted to do. One of those goddamn combiner versions, like we are of the unmade Mechagodzilla in the Tamashii line. I'll buy that.
Yeah. Also introduced is Baby Godzilla grew up a bit, and you can tell it's very kid oriented because when you look at Little Godzilla, it's very cheapable. Cheapable? Is that the word? Is that even a word?
It's more Minya-like, I guess you would say.
Yeah, Minya-like. I was going to say chibi-like. That's kind of what I was going for.
It's kind of chibi-ish.
Yeah. But, yeah, there's not really much in terms of, like, foundation or, like, things added to the lore of Godzilla. It's kind of just a story of Godzilla still got mutated, and Space Godzilla wants to take over Earth, and to do that, it wants to kill Godzilla and enslave humanity and all that fun jazz, and they have to stop it. I do like this.
Like, that's the problem, is, like, nothing really expands the lore. This one's just like, it's action.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This one does go back to a callback to Godzilla vs. Biollante to the guy who got killed in that movie.
Yeah, because Lieutenant Gondo, yeah. That was, like, the best part. I was like, still, his death shouldn't happen because time paradoxes.
But it did happen.
Yeah, because time paradoxes weren't explained to the fucking international audience.
I do remember hearing or reading something along the lines that the suit actor for Godzilla, I'm just gonna call him Ken.
It's Satsuma. Just call him Satsuma. Kenpachiro Satsuma.
Yeah, Satsuma. He was kind of disappointed in some of the scenes or some of the stuff taken out of the film because it took away some of the seriousness, such as when Godzilla is trying to save his son from Space Godzilla's crystal prison and just can't, and it's supposed to be like this tragic, heartfelt moment.
Because he said like there was they took out like 60 seconds of him trying to just like actually shoot his breath on the actual crystal thing and break it out.
Yeah, like he was trying desperately to save his child. And I think that would have added a lot of weight to the situation of just more humanizing of, well, not humanizing, but more sympathy for Godzilla, and that he's just this kaiju who wants to live his life and he wants to save his son.
Right now, you're actually trying to push this into being a trilogy. You really were. You really did this time.
I didn't mean to, but you
yes,
know,
you
I think the Heisei Era and the Showa Era have a lot of great stuff to them, Wheelz, but that's just me.
No, the Heisei Era was just a lot of just garbage. Garbage.
Garbage. But yeah, the film ends with Mogera and Godzilla teaming up to fight Space Godzilla, and Godzilla eventually wins and goes back to Birth Island to see his son. And for all that happy, fun jazz, eventually all good things have to come to an end, and the real shit hits the fan with our last film in the Heisei Era, Godzilla versus Destroyer.
Let's just explain it as this. The Oxygen Destroyer created monsters. They want to fucking take over the world and kill Godzilla. Godzilla's super irradiated because somehow some weird nuclear thing blew up. So now he's fucked up. Junior's evolved into a intermediate Godzilla called Godzilla Junior. And, everyone practically dies because Destroyer. End all be all. Endgame. Let's fuck it all up. And then, Godzilla uses weird, crazy CPR to fully evolve Junior. It was like the most craziest shit ever because they never really explained it, nor did they really want to.
Well, it's the same thing as what happened with Rodan.
Oh yeah, I know. Like Godzilla kind of bred life into Junior to sort of like CPR him, but then when they actually kill him in the meltdown, it fully solidified the CPR. But you kind of don't really realize that, and you just think it's a ghost. Like it was ambiguous when the movie first came out, but then like what was it when '99 came out? They were like, yeah, no, that actually was.
I do like that ending scene though. It's like they think Tokyo's like this wasteland. It's all gone. Nobody's going to be happy. And then suddenly all the radiation's disappearing, and they're all like, "What? Wait, what's happening? What?"
Yeah, the main guy who created the Super X2 project and the Super X3 project, and now he's the actual commander and pilot. It's like, wait, where's the radiation going? And Mickey like looks up, and then through the smoke, you just see Junior standing there as a full-grown Godzilla going, "Brah!" Like, oh shit,
about to get real, son.
But at this
series
point,
that we never got.
Yeah, but when you think about it, though, at that point, it was back to full-blown Showa Godzilla, because Junior is not fucked in the head like, his pappy was. Where this one's like, he's tamed. He's a tamed Godzilla.
He knows what humans are like. He likes humans.
But then here's the fucked up part. Since I'm guessing, I have a weird feeling that the Destroyer incident is so fucking unknown to the Futurians in their timeline that they don't know that the Godzilla that always is tameable and nice to Japan is actually the Godzilla 3 in this timeline. So there's history missing from their books, I'm guessing. And that's...
It's more like they didn't bother to research it. It's like, we need to stop this Godzilla,
Yeah, if we get rid of Godzilla, he won't be there to protect it. We inadvertently caused that Godzilla. The evil Godzilla that protects Japan, that we think is Japan, is dead, and it's really his son. Whoops.
Son of a bitch. But I feel like Godzilla vs. Destroyer was a nice send-off to all the years of the Heisei Era. Like, just us being with this Godzilla.
Garbage.
It was a nice send-off to this Godzilla that we saw in '84 and felt like great pain for because of just all the things it went through just the humans attacking it and it attacking the humans and just all the rage it felt and all the sadness it felt. And then eventually just comes to a standstill where he finally just melts down and dies. But before he goes, he doesn't take down humanity. He gives the last of his energy to his son instead. So in a way, he dies in doing a noble thing rather than a spiteful thing that he probably would have done given how he was in '84.
Well, I wouldn't say it was completely noble, because he didn't know he was gonna revive his son when he melted down. So when Junior doesn't really get up during the initial resuscitation, because even right before the final fight breaks out, Mickey goes to the dead corpse and sees it's dead. She senses he's dead. Like, she literally thought he was, like, dead, because they're dragging her away, getting her in the chopper. And then Godzilla's like, well, now, motherfucker, I'm about to melt down, and I'm about to take you the fuck with me. And I personally like the alternate take, where as he's melting down, since they're trying to cool him down, they're also hitting Destroyer, which is his weakness. And, like, I like where they both, like, wipe each other out with the laser beams, rather than the JDSF has hit Destroyer enough that he just kind of evaporates when he crashes to the ground, and then they take out Godzilla. Like, I actually like the more of the crazy barrage where they're like, let's just kill them both at once while they're killing each other. Like, I don't know why, but I actually thought that was a more, like, I guess with Godzilla standing alone and melting down and you see a skeleton, it was more iconic and symbolic, but, like, I actually like the more realistic take of them, like, let's get them both now! Well, like, Godzilla, like, has, like, I think there's a part where you see Godzilla grab Destroyer by the horn, and he starts, like, uppercutting him in the face. Like, I like that version where you see him grab him by the horn and break the horn off when he hits him so hard when he uppercuts him. But, like, I felt that was a very graphic end. Like, I thought, like, I prefer the graphic alternate deleted scene that you can get on Japanese Blu-ray.
I think they were just trying to, they felt like the first one, like, the one that we got was better in the sense that the main appeal of this movie, the main draw of the movie was the death of Godzilla, and they wanted it to be the main focus. They didn't want anything interrupting it.
Yeah, I could see that, too. Like, that's the thing. Like, it was both.
Yeah,
it was one of those ones where, like, I prefer the realistic ending, but I also prefer, like, I understand the course of the natural ending because it was his send-off, you know? You know what I'm saying, Mucha? It was like, both are correct, neither are wrong.
Every one is correct.
Yeah, so now since Mucha, you know, somehow found a way to take, like, 8 movies and turn them into an hour-long discussion, leaving us, you know, like, 10 minutes or less to do news of this week, we're going to wrap up now yet again, and we're going to have to do the
Wait, we didn't even
Saga.
ask Metal, like, what he thought of Destroyer.
Well, this time you kind of cut us a little too fast.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Anything I would say has already been said, so there you go.
So
basically, there you go.
We'll have to go with Metal with the Millennium Saga next time, so VisibleNinja, please tell people how to find you one more time.
Alright, you can find me here on YouTube at VisibleNinja. Surprise, surprise. I'm also on Twitter at VisibleNinja0 and on Instagram, VisibleNinja1.
Alright. With that, though, we have to conclude and make it a 3-parter, since Mucha knew that I didn't like the Heisei Era that much because of Thank You Ghidorah, and turned it into a full hour discussion topic, which was not intended.
Stop it, Wheelz. You know you enjoyed it.
Had we not gone the full hour, maybe. Maybe. But then again, you know, it's going into the full trilogy, which is better than a 2-parter, I guess. So that means, you know, just listen to the outro to find out how to you can contact Hero Club or follow Hero Club. You can also go down in the description below to find yours truly, Wheelchair21 and Janitor Joker here. And, you know, now we go on to the next part, the Millennium Saga. And hopefully we don't drag that cocksucker out any longer than it needs to be.
Because deep down, there's a Godzilla in all of us, Wheelz.
Hey, it's Wheelchair21, and thanks again for listening to an all-new episode of Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. If you want to hear more content or see more content from the Hero Club YouTube channel, we're going to need you to subscribe, like, comment with some feedback, and share this channel with a friend. We also would like you to check out our website, hero-club.com, and follow us on various social media outlets just by looking up Hero Club for Life, as well as the stores you see are where we shop. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.